Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope everybody is doing well and taking care during this awful times. Now let's just get right into this video. Today I'd like to discuss Mike Enzi. Mike Enzi is a senator from Wyoming, and recently he was on the floor and he was discussing how he is basically anti-increasing for unemployment or stimulus, basically anything in support of direct payments or direct assistance to the American people. And he gave the usual reasonings, the deficit, the inflation, etc., etc. Things that when you go back and look at his votes, right? So when he voted for the CARES Act, now when that came about, the majority of that money, everyone knows, went to corporations. And it was not just the 3 trillion, it extended way beyond that, plus an injection of at least a trillion to the stock market by the feds. And he didn't seem to mind that. He didn't seem to be against it. He wasn't on the floor making a speech about the deficit and how is that going to inflate the United States economy, etc., etc. However, now that the talks are about extending the unemployment, the $600 federal unemployment, which is in addition to the state unemployment, all of a sudden there's an issue. When there's talks about giving another round of $1,200 direct payments to Americans with the 75 cutoff for individuals or 150 for married couple, now he has a problem. And that seems to be the case for a lot of senators. And at this point, honestly, if you do not realize that these people do not work for you, but in fact they work for the lobbyists that put money in their pockets and then they turn around and make bills that will benefit them and put more money into their pockets. That is precisely why you have people who were already billionaires prior to COVID and now during the last 4 months when your everyday Americans, middle class, regular people, even upper middle class, have been demolished by this virus, economically in such extreme hardship, unable to put food on the table, pay the rent, pay bills, do anything minuscule to save themselves. The eviction crisis that is going to come about because they're not even worried about the eviction moratorium that is going to be, expiring here pretty soon. All that stuff doesn't matter to them. What matters to them is what do we do to help corporations make them happy so they can continue to pad our pockets, and what do we work out with the lobbyists when it comes to bills? Let's have the lobbyists work on the bills and then we present it the way that it is, throw a few scraps for the American people, and that way they'll be happy with the scraps because we usually give them nothing. So, they know that American people get absolutely nothing, and they get people, so occupied with the culture wars and the wars of right versus left versus progressive versus alt-right versus this versus that, and you're so consumed by that. And people are still continuing to be consumed by that. Some of the people are waking up, but some people are still consumed by this, which is what they put into your head. That way you're not paying attention to what they're really doing. And this is not just a right or a left issue. This is an entire government issue. These people give you faces in public. They play to the liberal people by giving them some social messages. And then they play to the conservatives by giving them certain social messages. They keep them occupied and act like they're going at each other when in fact 99% of the time they agree with each other. Reauthorizing the Patriot Act. The entire government agreed on that. Republicans, Democrats, Libertarian, whatever. They all voted and they were okay with extending it. There's only a few people here and there that stand out and say something, and they usually get outvoted because the majority is for it. anything that has to do with the military budget, the entire government votes for it. And it's quite ironic because you know how they sit there and play this whole game in the media about how President Trump is a Russian spy, he's a Russian asset. However, when he wants to increase the budget for the military, the fact that they think he's a Russian asset doesn't seem to come into play at all because they vote for it and increase it every single time. It's already an inflated, massive amount of money, but they never have an issue with going back and putting more money towards that. And if you notice with all the other developed countries, they took care of their people right away. It was a priority. They either covered their paycheck up to a certain percentage or they paid them a stimulus, recurrent payments. Something was worked out for the people so they can stay home, they can be safe and not be stressed out of their freaking minds of how they're going to take care of things. But here, the main focus is, hey, let's hurry up and get this done so that way we can continue with the culture wars to keep these fools occupied about right versus left. And on the other hand, we throw them little scraps so they can be happy with us giving them something, even though it's not much of anything. And we'll give the majority, to the corporations. The corporations got large tax breaks for the last break for taxes, which added, of course, money to the deficit. But this guy, the Wyoming senator, had no issue with that, with the trillion increases to the deficit at that point, because it was for the people that pay his pocket, the lobbyists. So it was no issue. Same thing with the CARES Act. Yeah, they agreed. The best thing they did was the business protections. And then the $1,200, which stimulated the economy, honestly. But that wasn't the reason that they hurried them and passed it. They hurried them and passed it so they can get this massive amount of money to corporations. And they started out with the stock market before they did anything. So if you are still gullible enough to believe that these people actually work for you and are continuing to be just completely into these cultural wars that they try to distract you with, then you will never wake up. I hope that we can all wake up and see what's really happening here and how these people that you voted in really feel about you. I want to hear from you guys. I want to know what you think. Thank you for watching. Please share, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.